He tries to perfectly mimic the same man. Even if he manages to replicate a fraction of that power, that alone would be enough. With full force, he leaps forward and reaches the assassin before the strike even lands. A cold blade brushes against him, but thanks to his leather armor, it leaves no cut. Encrid simply says, "Let's take this downstairs," and throws the assassin out the window. The man crashes down, landing on his back. The impact knocks the wind out of him. But Encrid is glad he didn't suffer any serious injuries from the fall. With no enemies left upstairs, Encrid shifts all his focus to this one remaining assassin. And despite falling from such a height, the man stands back up resilient, tough, full of grit. He looks at Encrid and asks, "You with the border guard now?" Encrid replies plainly. The assassin grins. "That's good. Means I have no reason to lose." Encrid studies him. He carries swords of various lengths, yet his balance is perfect. Maybe he's using a flowing sword style. That'll make this difficult. The assassin vows, "I'll kill you first, then that woman." "You talk too much," Encrid replies calmly. The moment the words leave his lips, the assassin lunges. This was Encrid's first serious fight in a long time, and this opponent wasn't weak. But that only made Encrid more excited. There was so much he wanted to test now. As the assassin shifts his positioning, Encrid instantly recognizes the technique. This was the Veldu style. He dodges the first attack, then the second, and the third. Both fighters retreat and reposition. Another clash, another dodge. Encrid evades once again. The assassin is baffled. How is this random soldier dodging every strike? Even Encrid is impressed. Maybe he's doing what I still haven't mastered, just relying purely on talent. From his precision and accuracy, it reminded him of that intruder who killed him again and again. The assassin charges in anger now, but Encrid can read his blade and trajectory clearly. The moment he tries a double swipe, Encrid finds his opening. He drives his sword straight into the man's chest. He was aiming for the heart, but slightly missed. As he pulls the blade back, he thinks to himself, "I need to get better. Maybe I should train with Rania or Jackson." The remaining assassins flee the inn. Encrid is about to chase after them when Jackson shows up. "Your fight drew quite a bit of attention," he says. Encrid points. "They're running," but Jackson stops him. "We weren't hired to catch them. Now that they're gone, the commissioner is safe. The ferry commander arrives too." "Not bad," she comments. "Are you all right?" Encrid asks. With a teasing smirk, she replies, "AWW. So, worried about your sweetheart? You won't be able to sleep tonight, huh? Butterflies in your stomach?" Encrid just gives her a tired look. Unfortunately, Leona had overheard everything. "So, are you two in a relationship?" she asks. Encrid quickly responds, "No, not at all." The ferry commander, playing along, adds, "Oh, so it was all just a joke to you?" Encrid doesn't know what to say anymore. Only one thought runs through his mind: what is even happening right now? Leona then asks, "What's your name?" Encrid, he replies, "Thank you for protecting me. You'll be rewarded properly for this," she says. Encrid bows his head. "Just fulfilling the duty I was given." The next day, more guards are sent in, likely in anticipation of another ambush. The few assassins who were caught are handed over to the army. Encrid sits alone at a table, deep in thought. Who were these people? Some of them were highly skilled. Could they have been sent by one of the other heirs? That's when Leona comes down the stairs and spots Encrid. "You're up early." "It's my shift," he replies. "Gotta do what I signed up for." She suddenly sits beside him. "Come with me. I want to give you an opportunity to join my personal forces." She explains that the Rockford Company isn't where it should be anymore. Their rivals are strong, like the Shepherds of the Beastlands, the Black Leather Guild known for dragon hunting, and the Glacier Rangers defending Perfrost. Then there's the map and exclusive chart that outlines trade routes and regional specialties. It's so valuable, anyone who sold it wouldn't have to work another day in their life. Such power, she says, shouldn't fall into the hands of a foolish son. She wants to expand the organization, and for that, she needs capable people. People like Encrid, those who risk their lives without even asking for a reward. People would kill for this position, she tells him. "You're no different. I'll give you everything, just join my team." But Encrid immediately refuses. Leona is about to ask why, but Jackson interrupts. Once someone declines, it's best not to ask again. The ferry commander agrees. "He's right, it's beneath your pride." Leona understands. With other heirs arriving soon, she takes her leave to prepare. Jackson laughs. "You even turned down a rich girl. Do you only go for the difficult ones? You should stop flirting with every woman you meet." Encrid answers firmly, "Nothing happened." But the ferry commander looks hurt. "I didn't think you'd try to play both sides." Encrid is exhausted. "I'm sorry, Maybe my tastes have changed. Both Jackson and the ferry commander are shocked. They hadn't expected that response. The other guards who overhear begin forming their own ideas. Maybe Encrid is the kind of guy who doesn't value his woman. In this game of fake love and imagined relationships, it seems Encrid is the one losing. The sun rises and right then, Christ walks in. He's heard everything. So you spent the night with the commissioner, huh? The guards are stunned. Now you're bagging rich women too. Man, you've really become a heartbreaker. Did you come just to mess with me? Encrid asks. Nope. Christ replies. I'm here with the Girlfriend Guild's report. Gotta stay at the top. Good timing. Encrid says, there's something I need to do. He still wants to track the assassins who got away. He needs to know who they are and what they're planning next. Renos Rockford was the previous head of the Rockford Merchant Association, a respected businessman with sharp instincts. He saw that same sharpness in his stepdaughter, Leona, and named her as his successor. But he couldn't bring himself to disinherit his own son. His indecision left the association in limbo. After his death, while his son was being brought over, one of his men reported that the assassins had failed because they hadn't been left to work alone. This man was Polly Rufordrinos Rockford's son. We'll need to come up with a new plan, one of them says. But the deal still stands, right? Polly stutters, confirming it. If I get everything that was promised, you'll be well rewarded. The quiet man beside him doesn't speak. He never speaks much. Soon, they arrive at the tavern where Leona had been held captive. As they enter, Polly complains, this place is full of dust. Exactly what I'd expect from Leona. Encrid notices the quiet man and immediately senses his strength. The two of them lock eyes for a few seconds. Then the man steps back. Polly yells, what are you all waiting for? Bring Leona down. Encrid thinks to himself, bringing Jackson really was the right move. If I'd brought Rem, someone's skull would have cracked open by now. That's when he notices Jackson slowly drawing his sword. Encrid stops him. Polly screams again, hurry up, and just then, Leona appears. Leona walks in and commands, calm down. This is not a place to shout, and you're late as it is. Polly snaps back. I don't care. First, teach your uncultured guards some manners. Without warning, Leona slaps him hard across the face. And Encrid watches, slightly amused. Is there anyone in this area who knows how to have a conversation without resorting to violence? Polly, enraged, yells, are you insane? Leona retorts, you're the insane one, picking a fight with a border guard. Soldier, do you want to rot in jail for the rest of your life? Polly's face goes pale. He had no idea who he was dealing with. Before he can say anything else, a man standing nearby clears his throat. Polly immediately points a finger and blurts out, it wasn't me. You're falsely accusing me. You're not even a real member of this family, you're just an outsider. Leona doesn't deny it. Yes, I was adopted. But at least I understand trade routes and finance, unlike you. Polly scoffs, that's what servants are for. Leona's patience starts to crack. If our fathers had stated the heir must be decided through debate, I wouldn't be wasting my time on this argument. Encrid observes quietly. The old patriarch was too soft-hearted. Leona deserves to be the heir. Then why is this fool being given another chance? Leona continues, Polly's only claim to inheritance is his bloodline. But look at him. There's not a trace of our father in him, not in wisdom, not even in looks. Polly loses his temper and starts drawing his sword. Encrid's hand instinctively moves to his own, and he notices the silent man nearby is doing the same. The tension thickens. The room stills as if frozen in time. Encrid steps in front of Leona. His sword slowly slides out of its sheath. Polly's guards step forward to protect him, but Encrid is focused on the silent man's stance. A swift sword style, he notes. Faster than even a city assassin's dagger, maybe? His fighting spirit stirs. I want to see how he wields that blade. Just as the silent man begins to raise his sword, a commanding voice rings out, stop. Border guards arrive, carrying direct orders from the crown. If you don't put your swords away immediately, they warn, this will be considered an act of treason. Polly backs down quickly. Encrid lowers his blade too, though a flicker of irritation lingers in his eyes. He wanted that fight. Jackson's voice echoes in Encrid's mind. If we're being honest, you're the weirdest one among us. Torres, the leader of the border guards, announces the assassins we captured were foreign mercenaries. We're taking over this case now. They've confessed they were paid by a merchant association. He turns to the others. So tell me, was this really about inheritance? Polly's face stiffens. But his companion interjects, did they name any specific association? There's no solid proof. Torres laughs. You talk too much. Do you think we're fools? Leona steps forward and makes an offer. If you truly want to find the real culprits, arrest both of us. Keep us in custody until the mastermind is exposed. Polly protests. I never agreed to this. Encrid is confused. Why would the victim want to be imprisoned? Torres explains. The ones we caught were just pawns. They repeated one line. The boss told us to. No real intel. Leona adds, some assassins escaped. One of them could be the boss. We need to find them. A commander asks, and what if we don't find anything? Leona responds, then that's our problem to handle. But for now, we all return to the city. And if summoned, we must return. Encrid worries. It's a huge risk. If Leona returns to the city, we won't be able to protect her. Her bodyguards won't stand a chance against the police. She'll be killed instantly. But he knows Leona is smart. She's aware of the danger. The question is, why is she still going through with this? Leona is a merchant. She never speaks without expecting something in return. Whoever captures the remaining assassins will be rewarded, she declares. Her maid brings out a bundle wrapped in cloth. As it's unveiled, everyone sees what it is, the fourth weapon in the Karen collection, the Carmen stiletto. Jackson's eyes gleam. He immediately steps forward. I'll take the case, and Encrid is surprised. What's so special about this dagger? Polly yells. Why would you bring something so valuable to this backward village? Do you even know what it's worth? Leona calmly replies. It's mine. I can do whatever I want with it. And Encrid turns to Jackson. What's the stiletto? Jackson is stunned. You really don't know. It's a weapon forged by the legendary smith Carmen. He was once a slave, turned assassin, who crafted 7 deadly weapons for revenge. The stiletto is the fourth. It's so valuable, some would sell their own families to get it. The stakes now sky high. Torres declares, no one leaves this, and without our permission. Encrid tells Jackson, don't worry about the stiletto. I've already sent criers after the fugitives. We'll have news soon. Polly is still arguing when the silent man locks eyes with Encrid. The two stare at each other until the man calmly walks away. Night falls. Everyone is trapped inside the inn. Polly ponders. What if this murder plot leads back to us? His assistant urges him to rest. There's nothing we can do against the border guards. We have to wait. If we siblings can't decide the heir, the investors will. That's the opening we need. Polly, voice shaky, says, I've already sent word to everyone. If they choose me, their rewards will be great. The silent man gazes out the window. Outside, as always, Encrid is training his intense, over-the-top workout routine in full swing. Torres watches him. I'm surprised you're still going this hard. Isn't this the perfect time to take a break? Encrid responds, if I were talented like you, maybe. But I'm not. What others learn in a week might take me a month or a year. That's why every single day matters. I don't like wasting time. Every day lays the foundation for what's to come. One of the guards begins to reflect. Is he strange? Or are we just lazy? Even Torres seems conflicted. He stands up. Encrid, slow down. You're already strong. Our last match was a draw only because I didn't expect your speed. But what about now? Encrid accepts the unspoken challenge. They clash again and Torres wins. Again and again. 11 rounds in a row. Everyone cheers for Torres and mocks Encrid. But Encrid isn't bothered. He simply says, one more time. Torres asks, don't you ever get tired? That was 11 times already. Someone else steps forward. Let us have a go-to. Soon, a line forms one by one. People want to fight. Polly watches in disgust. Savages. No sense of decorum. One border guard slams Encrid into the ground. The silent man continues observing closely. Encrid gets up. Can you do that again? The silent man understands this boy doesn't fear losing. To him, every fight is like a child discovering a new toy. And then he remembers something. Encrid had never backed down from a challenge even when he knew the opponent was far stronger. His defiance wasn't just courage, it was the stubbornness of someone different. Someone with something to prove. Despite getting trapped in the same move 3 or 4 times, Encrid didn't give up. He wasn't naturally talented in combat, but repeated experience taught him to respond better, sharper, and when he finally managed to win, the border guards erupted with excitement. Sitting in the corner, Ferry Commander quietly admitted, he's winning everyone's heart. A truly dangerous kind of man. Leona turned and teasingly asked, are you two really dating? The commander quipped back, dating. We're married, okay. The ceremony hasn't happened yet, and I think we might already be expecting. Encrid couldn't handle it anymore. He half-joked that she should probably stay locked inside the inn. Just then, the quiet man in the group broke his silence and asked, can I fight too? The room went silent. Encrid looked at him with interest. Torres tried to guess what was going through his mind. Everyone already knew the quiet guy's name, but no one saw any standout talent in him, nothing special. Still, there was something about him that made Torres want to mentor him. The desire to teach was overwhelming. Someone told the quiet man, "You're not in our league. Just sit back and watch." But Encrid stepped in. "No. I've been waiting for this moment." The quiet man smiled, watching from above. Jackson noticed the man only held a wooden stick, but he knew instantly this man was dangerous. Jackson, prepared to intervene, realizing the duel had become more than just a friendly sparring match. As the quiet man made his move, Encrid could clearly see the attack. He realized it was a feint, the real strike aimed for his neck. If he didn't block in time, he'd be dead. In a real battle, he would have already lost. The man's speed was frightening. He told Encrid, "You can read attacks well, but you need to work on your speed." Encrid had expected his swift sword to be fast after all. The name suggested it, but this was beyond anything he had imagined. He thought he'd grown stronger. Yet this man revealed how far behind he still was. The gap between them was vast. And yet, instead of despair, Encrid smiled. He asked for another round. The quiet man admired his spirit, and they fought through the night. Most people fell asleep, but those who were truly interested stayed up to watch. The quiet man reflected, anyone who's held a sword knows the pain of facing someone they simply can't beat. He had shown Encrid that impossible gap, but Encrid still refused to surrender. Jackson noted that Encrid's reaction time was slow. He couldn't dodge every strike. If this continued, he'd never overcome the wall in his way. So, Jackson decided Encrid needed serious speed training. The quiet man eventually called it a night, suggesting they rest before exhaustion set in. Encrid simply said, "You're amazing. One day, I'll master swift sword too." The quiet man smiled back, thinking, "You're the amazing one. With just a bit more talent, you'd be a legend." The next day, someone shouted that the runaway mercenaries had been captured. Encrid nodded at Christ, acknowledging his good work, but to him, it felt too easy. These rats weren't even hiding properly. Leona recognized one of them from Encrid's team and thanked him. Torres immediately began interrogation. "Who sent you?" Polite's heart began to pound. He was terrified his name might come up. One mercenary admitted they were hired by a company from Espen. Their job was to expand influence in a disputed zone. He didn't know much, just that they were paid upfront and promised more later. Leona turned to Torres. "The decision is yours now, right?" Torres looked uncertain. Did she really want her foolish brother to be behind all this? Lena just wanted her guess to be right. She was even willing to hand over the stiletto for it. But unfortunately, she couldn't interrogate them herself. Torres understood what Lena wanted, but also knew this was their job, getting the truth from criminals. So she gave the order, "Take them away. I'll file the report." As Leona's car was being escorted, Jackson admired a dagger and grinned with childlike joy. Encrid warned him not to flaunt it in public. He had never seen Jackson this happy. It was like watching a kid in a candy store. Christ joked, "Just don't fall in love with Leona. She's terrifying." Encrid had no such intentions. Still, Christ felt that whatever was happening had Polite's fingerprints all over it. Something odd had happened the day before. While capturing the marks, a stranger had approached Christ. He knew not only his name and team, but also his title, guild boss of Gilfin. He claimed to work for Leona and already knew where the marks were hiding. They'd bribed the military for release and prearranged the cover story they'd tell in the inn. Encrid couldn't understand if Polite was behind this. How had Leona been hurt? But Leona seemed relieved, saying, "At least my brother wasn't behind it. Otherwise, even father's name would have been tainted." Encrid suspected it was about her loyalty to her father. But she corrected herself. She didn't care for such things. "Forget it," he asked. "Will everything be okay outside the border?" "They won't be able to protect Lena. If Polite attacks, she'll be alone." Lena smiled. "Don't worry, everything's already arranged." As they reached the city gate, guards stood ready. One officer stepped forward and introduced himself as Mattis, guard commander of the Rockfried Merchant Association, he said. He had come to escort their newly chosen leader, Leona, unanimously elected by the association's stakeholders. All the guards kneeled before her. Encrid realized what Leona had done. She had been held back here on purpose. Yet, in that time, she had organized voting, swayed every stakeholder, and taken full control. Loyalty, decisiveness, and sharp information, she turned each into a weapon. Truly, a dangerous woman. She wanted Encrid back on her team, but wouldn't ask directly. There was something different about him. People just wanted to stand with him. She simply hoped they'd meet again and help one another. Encrid squeezed her hand in agreement. Suddenly, Polite jumped out of a carriage, yelling at the guards. "What are you doing? You're betraying the trust my father gave you." Mata stepped up. "Don't dishonor your father's name. You're not worthy of it." Polite's men realized he had completely failed, but the quiet man remarked, "Our mission is complete. Now we know that the leader of Rockfried is a cunning woman, and there's a soldier who might one day shake the world." Back during training, the quiet man had told Encrid, "Lower your sword. I respect your strength and effort." But he had also added, "You have no talent right now." It was a bitter truth but honest. Encrid hadn't heard those words till much later. But he had never listened to anyone before and he made it this far. After that day, the quiet man vanished. That was their final meeting. The next morning, Encrid woke in camp. Rem saw him and joked, "Don't say my name. You're about to go hang out with that feline jerk anyway." Encrid explained. He wanted to train and needed Rem's help. Rem's face lit up with joy. To master Swift Sword, Encrid needed two things: the clarity to choose the shortest, sharpest path, and the speed to move without friction. He scratched Rem in a flash, leaving him stunned. Rem admitted, "Okay, you've figured out how to strike fast. Now it's my turn to be faster." Encrid barely understood before Rem attacked at double speed, striking straight for his neck. Encrid had to leap back, stunned at how fast Rem had become. He made progress. Sure, but the journey was far from over. Later that evening, while training alone, Encrid sensed an attack coming and blocked it just in time. Jackson smiled. "Your eyes and ears are working now. That part of your training is done." Encrid asked, "Wait, you did all that just to test me?" Jackson nodded. "Yeah, but now it's time for the real lesson." Suddenly, Encrid felt Jackson's killing intent so strong it almost suffocated him. "This is the feeling of intent to kill," Jackson said. "If your eyes or ears can't sense it, your instincts must. It's a skill beyond the five senses, like a sixth sense. I'll teach it to you, but in return, I want that stiletto." Encrid smiled. He was happy there was still so much to learn. This journey was just getting exciting. Jackson explained that this sixth sense was rooted in instinct, not perception. Perception relied on the five senses, but instinct guided movement, awareness, and the way predators hunted prey. If Encrid kept training in this heightened state, eventually, he'd start feeling malice even if it couldn't be seen or heard. It wouldn't happen immediately, but over time, this sixth sense would awaken. That night, as Encrid sharpened his sword, Rem commented, "You look different." Encrid thought he meant his physical condition, but it wasn't that. Odin said, "You've started smiling more," though even that wasn't it. Christ chimed in, "He's just gotten crazier," and everyone laughed. Encrid replied with a grin, "I'm the only normal one here. That's why I look weird among all you lunatics." As everyone dozed off, Rem noticed Esther quietly slipping her hand into Encrid's. She notices him again, his body completely wrecked, just like every other day. He's pushing himself through training, as if he's ready to die. Without his magic, he would have collapsed long ago. She doesn't want him to die, not yet, because if he dies, her curse won't be lifted. That's why she decides to enhance even his clothing now. Just like her ability makes her relive each day over and over. Encrid trains over and over again without stopping, without resting. He doesn't tire, he doesn't give up. She knows this is the only thing that will make him stronger. That's her greatest reward. However, his training to develop a sixth sense isn't going well. He still doesn't understand it, and it's starting to disappoint the others. Rem even says, "Forget what I said about you changing. You're still the same as before." Odin finds this strange. Encrid had made tremendous progress in just a single day, and even Rania had called him a genius. But maybe that was just a fluke, nothing but luck. Everyone knows that real learning only happens on the battlefield, and since things are quiet for a while in a span, they suggest that Encrid go hunt a commissioned beast or something similar. He walks straight toward the quest board, thinking they're expecting him to prove himself again, since he hasn't been improving fast enough. Just then, someone hands him a piece of paper and says, "If nothing interesting shows up on the board, take this quest instead." Encrid reads the paper and finds it strange. It's a request to investigate the basement of a cobbler. Encrid asks the man, "Isn't this the kind of task for a recon team?" But the man explains that a recon team won't be enough. According to the cobbler, there might be something undead down there. Encrid finds it hard to believe. How could something like that exist right in the middle of the city? Maybe the man just saw a giant rat or something. Still, Encrid needs more battle experience, and the task feels too trivial to him. He's about to decline, but for some reason, he accepts. When he arrives, the cobbler's daughter immediately invites him in. The cobbler is digging in the floor and lights up when he sees Encrid. He explains that while digging, he found something strange beneath the floor. Encrid is stunned. A tunnel right beneath the heart of the city. This is no rat hole. He grabs a torch and decides to go down from the size of the place. It's clear that the tunnel was made by people and that there's something more down there. He and the cobbler walk until they reach a 6-way crossroad. That confirms that this tunnel is man-made. Encrid picks a path, but the cobbler insists there must be an undead in there. Encrid warns him not to wander around. He'll go in first to check, but as soon as Encrid steps inside, he's hit by an intense heat, and within seconds, there's a massive explosion that blows them both away. Only their shadows remain on the ground. Encrid wakes up again. It was a magical trap. When it comes to fighting mages, there's only one piece of advice people give: run. Those who die fighting mages are lucky. Those who survive, they suffer. Far worse. And this logic applies to their magical traps too. He returns to the quest board, wondering, how is he supposed to fight something like this? What kind of skill could possibly help him survive such deadly magic? The same man offers him the quest again, but warns that this can only be handled with the help of a magic specialist or someone highly skilled. This isn't like the walls he used to break through. He can't just brute force his way through. Encrid thinks maybe the fairy commander will listen to him, but before that man goes in alone again, he needs to act fast. Everything flashes back to him, and he rushes home. He kicks open the door and dives straight into the tunnel, sprinting toward the crossroads. But the cobbler is already inside one of the tunnels. Encrid tries to stop him, but it's too late. The same trap activates again, blowing them both up. Encrid now understands he needs another way. First, he needs to meet the cobbler and convince him not to go down there again. The ferryman says, "For a moment, I felt like my skin was turning inside out, like I was burning from the inside. Are you really going back to that same fire that could burn you again?" Encrid admits the pain was unbearable, like 1,000 needles stabbing him all at once. But what hurt more was watching an innocent man die for nothing. This isn't a path of glory. When he wakes up again, he immediately gets dressed and jumps out the door. Rem asks where he's rushing off to. He replies, simple, "I'm going to save that cranky old cobbler." Rem laughs, "Back to fighting the monster in the boots, are you?" But Encrid is already in motion. He can't stop the man from digging. He can't just leave that tunnel under his house either. Once the digging is done, Encrid sternly instructs the cobbler to stay behind. The cobbler isn't happy, but Encrid insists. As he heads inside again, he considers asking a magic expert for help, but that would take too long. And who would even listen to him? The place is filled with hidden traps. One of them is bound to kill someone. He makes up his mind. He must gather all the information he can, even if it costs him his life. He already knows about one trap, so he decides to test it with his body. But repeating the same day over and over feels like cheating. He searches for a better way, some sign or pattern that can tell him where the traps are dotted as he walks. He thinks about how many times he's died already, how much pain he's endured. Jackson's words echo in his mind. This thing just wants to end you. Suddenly, a sharp axe flies from behind. He senses it just as he steps into its range. It slices through him with brutal precision, but Encrid smiles. He's starting to feel the killing intent hidden in these traps. He returns to the cobbler's house, his mind now obsessed with one thing: how to detect the deadly intent woven into these traps. This time, he doesn't dive in. Instead, he walks back and forth in the same area over and over again, trying to feel the subtle energy. Eventually, he chooses a path he's never walked before. Nothing feels wrong here. Maybe this is the right one. Still, he checks the others too. One of them had once showered him with blades. Another had split his body in two. He remembers the feeling. That wasn't just any ordinary danger. The cobbler asks, "Why are you wandering like that?" Stomach upset. Encrid had told him to stay upstairs before, but now he realizes it doesn't even matter anymore. He returns to the new path and vows to keep walking until he senses the trap. Day turns to night. Eventually, he emerges from the pit. The cobbler is shocked. "How did you spend so long down there without food?" Encrid simply replies, "I'll be back tomorrow. Don't touch anything." The cobbler pleads for help again. He says he can't even sleep anymore. He's terrified his only daughter might go missing too. Encrid asks, "Any clue about your wife?" The cobbler explains that many people have gone missing recently, but no one's done anything. He asks Encrid to let him know if he ever sees a dusky woman with freckles wearing a certain ring. Encrid nods and returns to his bunk, trying to train his killing intent, but he misses completely. Rem teases him, "Looks like you've been wasting too much time with Mr. Bootman." After that, They both go to sleep. Encrid realizes something. This is the first time he's ended a day without dying. The real question now is, will he reach tomorrow? Or will today start all over again? He decides to sleep and find out. But fate doesn't let him go. He wakes up again in the same day. Again, he descends into the tunnel once more. This time, he resolves not to sleep at all. He watches the sunrise over the mountains, but the moment he closes his eyes, he's back to the same day again. Rem repeats the same lines once more. And now, Banquet fully understands. Until he overcomes this wall, he will never escape today. It didn't matter anymore. Encrid had already made up his mind he wouldn't face tomorrow until he conquered this. 20 days passed. He spent every moment training his body to adapt to a fear that was no longer fear, but a signal of imminent death. By day 40, he no longer needed the torch. He tossed it aside. He had learned to see in the dark. 50 days. 60. 70. He no longer feared the deadly traps or their horrific consequences. He had trained with Jackson, who was stunned at how quickly Encrid had absorbed everything. On the 72nd day, Encrid prepared himself for what was to come. Rem asked if he was really going to wage war inside the boots. But now, Encrid remembered all 6 paths through the tunnels, as clearly as the lines on his palm. He believed only one of them was trap-free. But he soon realized something chilling. Whoever had designed these tunnels was a complete maniac. Every single path was rigged. None were truly safe. There was only one solution. Don't stop. Just keep moving. The first path had a laser trap. A single misplaced step meant instant death. And ironically, it was probably the easiest of them all. Taking a deep breath, he made his move. A sudden blast of pain hit him, making his entire body tremble. He shifted his foot slightly to the left and nothing happened. He had taken the first step, then the second, the third. He was in complete focus now. His sixth sense had awakened. He wasn't seeing the path anymore, he was feeling it. Every step, every breath, every motion, he could sense it all. Finally, he made it through. Another wall overcome, and when the zombies started charging at him, he didn't panic. In fact, he smiled. It was like receiving a gift. He knew those zombies carried poison on their claws, lethal even from the slightest scratch. Most people would face them in teams. But Encrid, he was different now. His heart had been emptied of fear. His body danced through their attacks. Agile, precise, he tore through them one by one, without taking a single hit. And when it was over, he chuckled. That was incredible. He almost wished someone had been there to see it. But then, more monstrous creatures emerged, beasts so twisted. They looked like the result of fusing multiple animals together. Encrid had no idea what they were. But he didn't stop. He pressed forward. Elsewhere, Esther was growing concerned. Why would Encrid carry such a heavy weapon into the boots? Was he expecting an attack? If he died, it would be a disaster. He was taking too many risks. When she arrived at Muchi's home, she could immediately feel the presence of dark magic and something sinister in the air. Back in the tunnels, Encrid defeated the last of those strange monsters. But something wasn't right. He could still sense faint breathing somewhere inside the cave. Soft, shallow, almost fading. Was there another beast? As he reached the end of the cave, what he saw made his blood run cold. The cavern was filled with rotting limbs, human and animals strung up on spikes, abandoned to decay. And in the middle of that hellscape lay a woman, barely breathing, whispering for peace, for death to come and end her torment. Then Encrid noticed the ring on her finger. It was Muchi's wife's. This woman, this barely living soul, was her. Suddenly, a man appeared. He'd heard someone approach. Smiling, he said, "Looks like we've got some fresh meat to play with. Maybe I'll make you a friend for Bommy. He's been feeling lonely lately." Encrid asked him directly, "All these bodies, this was your doing?" The man didn't deny it. "Yeah, but they were all failures. Bommy, he's my masterpiece. And now, I'll make you something beautiful too." Encrid knew one thing when it comes to fighting a magician. Running is sometimes smarter than fighting. If he died, maybe it would be peaceful, but if he survived, the torture could be worse than death. Still, he didn't back down, even if it took 1,000 tries. He was going to kill this monster. He threw a flying knife. It struck the magician's magical shield and bounced off. But that was just a distraction. Encrid used that moment to get in close. The magician shoved him back easily, hidden in a corner. Esther watched it all unfold. She had suspected a magician might be involved. Her own power was limited, but if she summoned everything she had, she could erase him. The magician cast a gust of wind so sharp it tore through Encrid's clothes. But Encrid dodged just in time. He couldn't see the magician, couldn't hear him, but he could feel his intent to kill. and that was enough. The magician was stunned. How had Encrid survived that? But Encrid was already a step ahead. Every move, he was reading it. He had once asked his team how to fight a magician. Rem said, just shoot an arrow at him. But Encrid knew that wouldn't work on someone this fast. Jackson said, attack when his guard is down. Odin suggested, charge in and fight face to face, but even that was useless against such a powerful shield. Only Rania had said something different, don't be afraid. If it breathes, it can die. Encrid threw himself at the magician with full force. His whizzing daggers were useless against the shield, so he made a decision to crack the shield open like an egg. The magician allowed him to approach. He had already prepared his final spell, time for the exact moment Encrid would be most vulnerable. Esther, still watching, grew tense, but then she relaxed. She realized Encrid had already won. The magician's shield shattered. He was exposed. With a mighty swing, Encrid's sword cleaved nearly through him. He didn't even need to die this time to win. As the magician's body hit the ground, Encrid's sword fell with it. He had endured so much. That blade had been with him through all of it. The shock ran all the way to his bones, but he was unharmed. His armor had truly protected him not just from blades, but from everything. He turned toward Muchi's wife, but it was too late. She had already passed. Encrid's sixth sense had grown powerful enough to take down a magician, but this wasn't a victory. He had failed the mission he set out to complete. Ashamed, he lowered his head and walked away. Esther entered and looked at the magician's corpse. She muttered that he lost because he never used his true creation, a flash golem, designed to amplify a magician's strength. Just a slight spark could wake it. Now, she would make it hers. That magician had ruined her once, now it was her turn. Encrid reported everything to the ferry commander. The man was stunned. If the public ever found out that illegal experiments were being carried out in the heart of the city, chaos would erupt. Encrid agreed it was better to bury the truth. But the commander warned him if he hid this, no one would ever praise his efforts. Encrid shrugged. That didn't matter. Saving lives was the only thing that did. Soon, repairs to the tunnels began. A fake story was released. This had all been the work of the Thieves' Guild. Muchi accepted it too. He came to Encrid and handed him a gift, a new pair of boots. Your old ones were falling apart, he said. I made these just for you. And, for the first time in a long while, Encrid felt a little lighter. Encrid smiles, acknowledging that Torres is still a better fighter for now. But Torres replies confidently, you're not the only one who's been training. That excites Encrid. He draws his sword, ready for the next round. Torres launches the first strike, and Encrid counters. The air fills with the clash of steel, their swords raining down in rapid succession. Torres had already seen Encrid's fight with Harpus, and now he's certain this guy has gotten insanely strong. Still, Torres doesn't back down. He lowers both their blades suddenly and moves in for a punch. Encrid is caught off guard at first, but then realizes why just in time to dodge. Still, the hidden knife Torres had concealed slices Encrid's cheek, but Encrid doesn't flinch. He's not angry, he's impressed. That was Torres' secret technique, the hidden knife. And impressively, he didn't even need to cut his own finger for it to work. Encrid finds it all amusing, even cool. Torres expects to be mocked, maybe even called a coward, but instead, Encrid grins. That was awesome. Teach me that. Torres is skeptical at first, but eventually agrees. Alright, I'll show you a few tricks. Just then, the boat arrives. But both of them are so engrossed in their training, they don't even notice. The old boatman wonders whether these guys are ever actually going to get on board. Eventually, they do climb into the boat, but Encrid doesn't stop. He continues practicing even there. By morning, they arrive at their destination. They're supposed to meet a recon team, but Encrid has no idea where the rendezvous point is. Torres suggests first, let's clean up. We're drenched in sweat from all that training. Encrid doesn't argue. The smell is starting to bother him too. They both step into the water. As Torres turns around, he catches a glimpse of Encrid, removing his pants along with his true fighting sword. Torres stares, annoyed. His competitive spirit crumbles completely. Encrid, confused, simply says, if you're ready, come at me. But Torres mutters, that's not the spark I was talking about. Just then, a woman's voice breaks in, there you are. I've been looking for you, and here you are, bathing. Encrid jumps, startled. Neither he nor Torres noticed her approach. She informs them they need to reach the cross ward before sunset. They need to move quickly. Torres protests, how? Do you expect us to bathe properly like this? She shrugs. See whatever you want, doesn't bother me. Encrid is the first to step out, and she glances down at his sword. Torres notices the expression on her face, but she casually says, I was just looking at his hands. She introduces herself as Finn and shakes Encrid's hand. We've got 7 more missions ahead of us. She adds. Torres watches this and wonders, what's wrong with my apps? As they walk, Finn tells them they'll first need a quick briefing before talking about the main mission. Inside Crossguard, they had an undercover spy named Cat who was supposed to deliver critical intel for days ago. He never showed up at the meeting point. Since then, he's gone completely silent. Encrid asks, is he in danger? Finn nods. Most likely. We need to go inside and extract him. The front entrance of Crossguard is surrounded by forest and monster-infested terrain. The enemy uses it as a natural barrier, and there are very few patrols there. They'll need to sneak in using hidden paths. There are 3 options. The first is dog hole, a tunnel used by smugglers. The guards know about it, but intentionally ignore it. The second is scaling the city wall at night. It's exhausting, but the safest method. The last is posing as merchants and walking through the main gate. It's the easiest, but also the riskiest. Finn's platoon will remain at the rendezvous point in case Cat shows up there. Only Encrid, Torres, and Finn will infiltrate the city. She explains that each method has its own challenges and lets Encrid choose. Encrid thinks she made everything sound so simple, but it won't be. Torres steps back, saying, you decide. You know the situation best. Finn selects dog hole. They'll move at dawn. That night, Encrid continues training. This time, he manages to throw his stone just a few inches away. Torres is baffled. How the hell did this guy even learn swordsmanship with this kind of skill? But he encourages him anyway. It's alright. You'll get there. Later, Finn walks over and asks why he skipped dinner. She notices him making strange hand movements. Encrid replies, it's training. She insists, fine, but eat first. One of her squad mates wants to be a chef, and the jerky he cooked is actually amazing. Encrid and Torres both agree it's delicious. Finn laughs. You should get more from him. His parents run a food shop near the border. We should eat there sometime. She also warns Encrid, don't sleep under that yellow rock. There's a viper underneath. Encrid smirks. He already knew. One of his teammates was a hunter who warned him about it. Finn is impressed by his preparedness. I like that in a man, she says, teasing him. Then she adds playfully, want to train? I mean, the grown-up kind. Encrid looks puzzled. Torres whispers, bro, she's hitting on you. Finn laughs, yeah, I might be rough, but I know how to be good in the right places. Torres protests. Can you not do this while I'm eating jerky? Encrid politely refuses. Finn's surprised. Why not? Then she remembers, oh right, you've got something going on with the ferry commander, don't you? Encrid, as usual, has no idea what's going on. When did this joke become serious? Finn smiles and says, all right, we'll keep it normal from now on. Then she gives the order, sleep, tomorrow's going to be long. Under the red moonlight, Encrid finally rests. His thoughts begin to fade, until suddenly, he sees the ferryman. He jerks a pride he hadn't seen him in a long time. That could only mean one thing, a message. He recalls how the ferry commander had once apologized for something. That memory makes him smile. He knows another wall is waiting to be broken. The next morning, Torres asks, why are we moving in daylight? This is an infiltration. Finn replies, the guards may look the other way, but they're not stupid. Encrid agrees. The enemy likely isn't expecting an attack. That's why this might be their best chance. Torres shrugs. I'm probably just here so someone else can take the blame if it goes wrong. But he presses on anyway. As they move, Encrid analyzes Finn's movements. She's a ranger. She moves light and silent, scouting ahead. There's barely a sound in her footsteps. Encrid wonders if he can ever move like that. Suddenly, a squad of guards appears. They're surrounded. Finn signals them to fall back, but behind them, more guards close in. The enemy commander gives the order, kill them. The 3 of them brace for battle. Crossbows fire. Finn is hit. They take down as many guards as they can. But Encrid knows Torres and Finn don't have experience dealing with this kind of large-scale force. And just as he feared, Finn gets distracted by a downed target and Torres is stuck in defense. Both are killed at the same time. Encrid realizes this is the wall he must now break. But he won't give up. With a sharp whistle, he launches a flurry of throwing knives and charges forward with his sword, but on the commander's order. The enemy pins him down fast. No matter how much he struggles, it's clear death is inevitable. The reset begins once more. Encrid paused, lost in thought. A force that massive couldn't have just appeared there by coincidence. It was clear they'd been waiting for them all along. That realization had to stay etched in his mind. Just then, Finn approached, asking, why he wasn't ready yet. They had to take the smuggler's path. But Encrid shook his head. I don't know why, but something about that path doesn't feel right. What if we climb the wall instead? Torres chimed in. Encrid once shattered an enemy's spell just through instinct. Trusting his gut might not be a bad idea. Finn understood but hesitated. That'll mean waiting until nightfall, though. We'll waste valuable time. Encrid grinned. Well, then how about a warm-up round? At first, Finn was confused. Did he really mean a fight in broad daylight? But Encrid was talking about a regular sparring session. Disappointed, Finn reminded him that she didn't fight with swords. Encrid proposed. Then let's do it hand to hand. She agreed. Encrid figured whether the enemy knew they were coming or not. A fight was inevitable. Might as well use the time for some training and assess his team's capability. You go first, he said. But Finn motioned with her hand. You start. Encrid lunged with a punch, leaving himself wide open. Finn countered with a kick, which he barely blocked. She retreated, only to strike again with another kick, this one faster. Sharper. Encrid recognized the move as dangerous. He countered, using a technique from the fairy commander, using his body weight to charge and throw her down. But before he could gain the upper hand, Finn locked him into a crushing leg hold. Watching from the side, Torres declared, it's over, she won. Encrid thought to himself, she may be small, but she's packed with muscle. No wonder she loves close combat. Honestly, she was the perfect sparring partner. Smiling, Encrid asked, one more round? Finn didn't reply, just gave him a look. Sparring, just sparring. He clarified quickly. Please, Torres muttered, can you not do this in front of me? As the sun dipped below the horizon, Finn reminded them it was time to move. She looked at Encrid and raised a brow. You're going like that? He asked. What's wrong with my gear? Finn pointed at his overstuffed loadout. You're carrying too many weapons. You'll be exhausted before you even start climbing. Torres asked, how's he looking to you? Finn just sighed. Fine. Whatever. Torres wandered to a corner, silently weeping, his emotions crushed. I think I can still climb with all this gear, Encrid said. Finn chuckled at his naive confidence. Don't forget, it's not just a wall, it's a mountain too. Encrid nodded. Every wall I've faced has been tough, but I've always made it through. After returning from the magician's tunnel, Encrid had earned enough to forge a new sword. His old one was destroyed. When Cryas saw the magical tools he brought back, he was stunned. Encrid could have sold just one and bought an entire set of gear. Give me the best sword you can make, Encrid had told him. Cryas shook his head. This guy lives for swords. It's all he thinks about. To Encrid, a sword wasn't just a weapon, it was his lifeline. He couldn't move without it. You could have at least left that giant longsword behind, Finn pointed out. It's sucking all your energy. Encrid agreed it was heavy, but his muscles had long since surpassed their limits. He'd faced harder challenges before. This was nothing. Eventually, he climbed the wall. This guy's making his own life harder, Finn muttered. Torres wondered if this was just another excuse for training. Suddenly, a pack of lycanthropes passed beneath them. Seeing them in such numbers is rare, Torres whispered. Finn warned them to stay alert. The wall was right ahead, but daylight still lingered, and they couldn't climb under cover yet. Finn reassured them. When both moons rise, the light gets so intense that even the guards stop paying attention. She gave the signal, and the trio quietly advanced. But only Encrid noticed the guard who had previously ignored them, now staring at them piercingly, as if he saw their souls. Still, they reached the wall. Told you it'd be easy, Finn said. But Encrid didn't feel relieved. He was certain that guard had seen them. Maybe the guard had simply doubted his own eyes. As they prepared to climb, Finn explained, there are slums on the other side. If we hide there, the enemy will never find us. She urged Encrid, leave the sword. This climb will be tough. But Encrid refused. What's a workout without some weight? This guy's insane, Finn thought. As they ascended, Encrid realized why this path was safest. If they got past the wall, infiltrating crossguard would be easier. But what if this, too, was an ambush? Just as that thought passed his mind, a woman's voice rang out. You've worked hard to get this far. Now rest. A net of vines came flying toward them. Duck, Finn shouted. She's a mudge. She threw knives as she yelled for Torres and Encrid to retreat to the lower base. But the sorceress destroyed everything in her path. Encrid hadn't expected this, but he charged anyway. He had fought a magician before and had closed the sixth sense gap. He remembered Jackson's advice. Trust your senses, but don't rely on them completely. A powerful mage can deceive them, and that's exactly what happened. Vines slammed him back. You idiot, Finn screamed. She and Torres were trapped and injured by the vines. No matter how hard Encrid fought, he couldn't free himself. Clapping her hands, the mage mocked. Brave effort. She introduced herself as Wretch of the Rose Vines before slamming him with an explosive spell. Encrid had lost. He realized just. Like not all foot soldiers are the same, not all mages are either. He had grown overconfident. Charging him blindly, the ferryman appeared. Finally understand your place. You use your power to push ahead, not to carry the pain of your failures. Before this wall, you're just an ant. But Encrid smiled. Thank you. You've reignited my fire. The ferryman grinned back. Let's see if you'll say the same at the third wall. Encrid turned to Finn. This time, we'll sneak in disguised as merchants. I don't trust the other routes anymore. Finn agreed. But we'll need to blend in with real traders. They head to Crossguard tomorrow morning. But now came the real challenge. How would Encrid survive a whole day without breaking through a wall? Torres shrugged. Well, there's nothing we can do now. Might as well rest. Finn already had a plan. She ordered her soldiers to bring everything out soon. A feast of meat and drinks was laid before them. Encrid was shocked. Aren't we too close to the enemy for this? Isn't this dangerous? Finn laughed. If we can't act, what's the point of worrying? Overthinking dulls your mind. Relax, your shoulders are too tense. Encrid had always believed that being the best meant training every second. But maybe Finn was right. He thought the only way to break through was head on. But now he understood sometimes peace and clarity could reveal another path to today's defeat. This rest, this revelation, they all became a part of him. Finn had told him to rest. But even now, no one could tell what Encrid was really doing. Maybe, Torres said, this is what Encrid calls resting. Finn didn't understand him. But she smiled. At least he looks good doing it. Torres just looked away, quietly crushed. Night fell. Encrid felt like the day had changed. Something inside him. It wasn't wasted after all. The first trial had guards. The second, a powerful mage. What would stop them now? Then came a chilling roar of lycanthropes. Encrid instantly knew. These are the same ones we saw this afternoon. Finn screamed. Run. But it was too late. They were surrounded. Torres trembled. It takes 10 men to take down one lycanthrope. There are 20 here. Finn was stunned. How did they all get here unnoticed? Encrid realized his senses had failed him again. This had to be Wretch's doing. She had promised not to interfere. But that didn't mean defeating her would be easy. Encrid tried to dodge using his instincts. But the beasts were too unpredictable, striking from all angles like wild animals. Eventually, he had to draw his blade. But as he zoomed out of his own fight, he heard the screams of his companions. They were being slaughtered. He knew the day would reset. But watching it unfold each time was just as painful. One by one, he cut them down. But then the largest lycanthrope, probably the leader, punched him in the chest, sending him flying. Vulnerable in midair, the others rushed him. The ferryman appeared again. No matter which path you choose, every wall is just as tall. And until this day ends, you'll keep reliving it, he added, still enjoying yourself. Encrid gritted his teeth. I'm not enjoying it, but I won't give up. If all 3 paths are blocked, I'll find a 4th. Encrid stood still, completely frozen in thought. Such a massive force couldn't have just appeared there by chance. That meant they had been expecting them all along. He needed to remember that from now on. Suddenly, Finn appeared beside him, asking why he wasn't ready yet. They were supposed to take the smuggler's path. Encrid hesitated. I don't know why, but I have a bad feeling about that route. What if we climb the wall instead? Torres turned to Finn and said, Encrid once detected an enemy spell with nothing but his senses. Maybe trusting his instinct isn't such a bad idea. Finn understood. But she pointed out they'd have to wait until nightfall, and that would cost them time. Encrid smirked. Why don't we spar until then? Finn blinked, confused at first. Did he really mean a fight in broad daylight? But Encrid meant a normal sparring session. A little disappointed, Finn reminded him that she didn't use swords. He grinned and suggested, then let's fight without weapons. She agreed with a nod, and so began their training match. Encrid believed that a fight was bound to happen regardless of whether the enemy knew they were coming. Better to prepare the team than assess everyone's capabilities in the meantime. He told Finn to strike first, but she motioned for him to come at her. He lunged with a punch, exposing his side. Finn countered with a quick kick, which he blocked. With his other arm, she feigned a retreat but swiftly launched another kick. Encrid anticipated this might be dangerous, and responded with a move from his fairy commander technique. Using the weight of his body to charge her, he managed to knock her down. But Finn quickly grabbed his arm and trapped him in a leg lock. Torres, watching the whole thing, announced the match over. Finn had clearly won. Encrid thought to himself, she may be small, but her body is packed with muscle. No wonder she prefers hand-to-hand combat. She's the perfect training partner. Without missing a beat, Encrid asked for another round. Finn didn't say anything, just gave him a look. He quickly clarified, I meant sparring, nothing more. Torres groaned. Please stop doing this stuff in front of me, and in front of everyone else. As the evening sun dipped lower, Finn reminded them it was time to move. She glanced at Encrid and asked if he was really going to climb like that. What's wrong with what I'm wearing? He asked innocently. You're carrying way too many weapons. You'll wear yourself out before we even reach the wall. Torres asked him how he felt. Finn just stared at him and said, fine. Whatever. In the corner, Torres shed a quiet tear. His feelings had taken a hit. Encrid still believed he could climb, even with all that gear. Finn smiled faintly at his simple optimism, but reminded him, we're not just climbing a wall. We've got a mountain ahead too. I know it's a challenge, he admitted, but no wall I've ever faced has been easy every time. I've pushed through something bigger. When he returned from the mage's tunnel, Encrid had collected trophies to forge a new sword his old one had broken. Cryas had been stunned by the sheer amount of magical tools Encrid had brought back. One of them alone could have paid for a full set of equipment. Encrid had told him, make me the best sword possible. Cryas muttered to himself, is there anything this guy cares about other than swords? But for Encrid, the sword wasn't just a weapon, it was his lifeline. Going without one wasn't an option. Finn tried to reason with him. That heavy long sword of yours, at least leave that behind. It'll drain all your energy. Encrid acknowledged that it was heavy, but said his muscles had already been pushed to their limit many times before. This was nothing new. And so, he climbed. Finn looked up at him scaling the wall and muttered, he's the one making life hard for himself. Torres wondered if this entire detour was just an excuse to train. Suddenly, a group of lycanthropes passed beneath them. That many in one place? That's rare, Torres whispered. Finn warned them to stay alert. The wall was just ahead, but there was still too much daylight left. They couldn't climb without cover. Relax, Finn said. When both moons are in the sky, the light is so bright even the guards stop paying attention. She signaled them, and they moved quietly. But only Encrid noticed one guard. He had been ignoring them before, but now his eyes locked onto them with an intensity that pierced straight through. They still made it to the wall. Finn beamed. See? Told you it would be easy. But Encrid wasn't so sure. He believed that guard had definitely seen them. Maybe his own instincts were misleading him. They prepared to climb. Finn explained that shantytowns lay beyond the wall. If they could hide there, the enemy wouldn't be able to track them. She told Encrid to leave his sword behind. This climb would be even harder if there's no weight. How is it a workout? He replied. This guy was unbelievable. As they climbed, Encrid began to understand why this path was the safest. If they crossed the wall, infiltrating crossguard would be easy. But what if this was another trap, like the tunnel ambush? How would the enemy try to stop them this time? Just as they reached the top, a woman's voice echoed, you worked hard to get here. Now, rest. Suddenly, vines erupted toward them. Duck. Finn shouted, it's a mudge. She threw her daggers and yelled for Torres and Encrid to retreat to the lower base. But the mudge destroyed everything in her path. Encrid hadn't expected vines, but he charged anyway. He'd fought a magician before and had trained his sixth sense. He remembered Jackson's advice, trust your senses, but don't rely on them entirely. A strong enemy, especially a mage, can deceive them, and that's exactly what happened. The vines threw Encrid back violently. You idiot, then screamed. She and Torres were soon trapped and injured by the vines too. Encrid tried everything to free himself, but the vines were too strong. The mage clapped slowly, mockingly. Brave effort. She introduced herself as the wretch of the rose vines and triggered an explosion on Encrid. He lost. Only now did he realize, just as not every foot soldier is the same, neither is every mage. He gotten arrogant. He thought he was strong enough to charge in without thinking. The ferryman appeared again. Understand your place now? He asked. He noticed something strange. Encrid wasn't using his current power to dwell in pain. He was already looking ahead. To a wall like this, you're just an ant, the ferryman said. But Encrid smiled. Thank you. You've reignited my fire. That's what I needed. The ferryman smirked. We'll see if you still say that when you reach the third wall, later. Encrid turned to Finn and said they would infiltrate as merchants this time. Every other route felt wrong again. She agreed but said they'd need to join the real merchants entering Crossguard tomorrow morning. The only problem? Could Encrid survive a whole day without climbing a wall? There's nothing we can do for now, Torres said. Let's just rest. Finn had a plan. She told one of her soldiers to bring everything out, and they unveiled a feast of meat and drinks. Encrid was shocked. We're doing this in front of the enemy. Isn't this too relaxed? Finn laughed. When there's nothing to do, worrying is no good. People lose their ability to think when they're too tense. Just relax. Have a drink. Your shoulders are too stiff. Encrid had always believed that becoming the best meant never taking a break. But maybe Finn was right. He used to think charging head-on was the only way to overcome walls. Now he realized that sometimes the smarter path lay in calm, careful thinking. This moment, this failure, this peace, it was all becoming part of him. Finn had told him to rest. But now, not even Encrid knew what he was doing. Torres just sighed. Maybe this is Encrid's version of rest. Even if Finn didn't understand his ways, she smiled. At least he looks good doing it. Torres looked down sadly. Night fell. Encrid felt that today had brought a revelation, and that thought alone made the day worthwhile. Thinking back, the first wall had guards, the second had a mage. What would stop them this time? Just then, a chilling roar pierced the night. It was a lycanthrope. Encrid immediately realized these were the same ones they saw earlier that day. Finn shouted, "Run!" But it was too late. The beasts surrounded them from all sides. Torres trembled. It takes 10 men to take down one lycanthrope. There are 20 of them. Finn was stunned. How did they show up so suddenly? There were no monsters nearby. Encrid realized even his senses had been deceived. Could this be Wretch's doing? She said she wouldn't endanger herself, but that didn't mean she was easy to defeat. Encrid tried dodging their attacks, but they were unpredictable beasts without rhythm. He had no choice but to block with his blade. Just when he zoomed out to assess the field, he heard the screams of his comrades. All around him, they were being slaughtered. He knew the day would reset, but watching it happen still tore him apart. One by one, he brought the beasts down, but then a massive lycanthrope likely. The leader punched him hard in the chest, sending him flying. Midair and defenseless, the other beast closed in. The ferryman returned once more. Whatever path you choose, every wall is equally tall. And as long as this day repeats, you'll be stuck in the same loop. Are you still enjoying it? Encrid replied, "It's not fun, but I can't give up. If all 3 paths are blocked, I'll find another way."